Hey, I'm here in Madang, Papua New Guinea today with the Kodiak. I'm gonna be doing a 30-minute flight up into the mountains to Goroka, where my home base is. It's really cloudy, so I'm getting a little bit of extra fuel because I wanna make sure I have enough in case I have to come back here. But on this flight, I'm gonna go over 5 habits that I feel like make the best pilots. And one of them is a little bit controversial. So wait till the end to figure out what that last one is. Let's fuel up and get out of here. Afternoon. 5'8", lo this list side that's all. 58. 58. Okay. Now, while he's finishing up fuel, let's go over the weather together. We're starting here in Madang and heading up here to Goroka. So we've got green, blue, and yellow. Yellow and green is typically rain. Actually, it's always rain. And we've got like lightning strikes over here and then like super white ones. The super white ones are like, there might be some actual convective area right in there. All the other lightning strikes are just like kind of convective buildup. There's like big white puffy clouds. And all the blue you see is just like layer upon layer of clouds. If we switch over to the satellite view, you can see there's just a lot of clouds everywhere. It's just white everywhere right on my track, and more specifically right here with a couple of lightning strikes in there. So that's really all that I care about on this flight, because we're gonna have a little bit of clouds getting over the mountains, actually a lot. So getting into Goroka, I called up there, they said on the North Gaps it's really rainy. Kind of south, I mean more of an east, it's really rainy. So I think going through the Bennett Gap at 14,000 is going to be our best option today. Go! Hey. Low start. Let's get out of here. Let my NG stabilize. Use our fuel. Been here for about a half hour now, and everything's coming up at just a normal rate. ATT peaks out at 677. Forward generator on, alternator on, NOx bus. I topped up just about 100 pounds is all. It's really not that much, about 10 extra minutes of flying, but days like today where you might just have to fly that extra 10 minutes, it's nice to have it so that you can use it and not have to come all the way back down here, because now you're going into your reserve. So my reserve is an hour of fuel, and on top of that hour I have basically 40 extra minutes of fuel to kind of muck around and figure out how I'm going to get there. Okay, we've got 1 POB, flight level, we're going up to 12,730 pounds of fuel. We'll hit send on that. Fuel caps and selectors are good. Our controls are good. TAWs will leave enabled. Flight plan. We've got saved ones in here, so let's go down to Goroka, Dang, and down here we have invert. Let's invert that. Let's get weather real quick.
Madang Airport. Information Papa. Time 0333 Zulu. Runway 07. Wind 060 degrees, 12 knots. Maximum 15 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Cloud scattered 1,500 feet. Broken 5,000 feet. Temperature 27. Dew point 24. QNH 1011.
Madang Tower, November Tango Echo. Request taxi Goroka, 1 POB with information, Papa.
Number Tango Echo, clear taxi runway 07 and the backtracking lineup.
Clear to backtrack lineup, runway 07, November Tango Echo.
Once we take off, we'll go over the first one, what I feel like makes a great pilot. You can leave your comments down below on what you guys think. If you would agree with me, you disagree with me, that's completely fine. Subjective. But I know the last one, the 5th one, is a highly debated, talked about subject, and I have changed my mind on it
Now I feel like that has really made me a better pilot. So wait till the end to figure out what that is, because out of all of them, I feel like this is the most important for me specifically on making me a better pilot.
Number Tango Echo, November Traffic City.
November Tango Echo. November Tango Echo, just requesting to do an intersection departure here. There's quite a few birds at the end.
Confirm intermediate departure.
Intersection departure at this intersection, please. Just do birds.
Approved. Line up and report ready.
November Echo. When I came in, there was just a ton of hawks down there, and they usually stick down more towards the end, so I'd rather just do more of an intersection departure. All right, ignition, inlet, and lights are good. Harnesses, high idle, 30 degrees, so 1540 for 1590 on the torque. November Tango Echo ready for departure.
November Tango Echo, caution, best flight exit exist, runway 07, make right turn, clear for takeoff.
Runway 07, clear takeoff, right turn, November Tango Echo. Closest complete, ignition, condition, flaps 20, fuel, and harnesses. 1540. Okay, torque is set, 715 and climbing on the I2T, it's all good. And there's already rotate, because we are empty. Did all my flying today, and this is my last flight just to get home. Well, I'm waiting for 300 feet first before I start getting my flaps out. Because we're so light, we're climbing so great, I'm going to go all the way up to 500. Once we're over 85 knots, we'll go 10 degrees of flaps. The nose just kind of wants to drop. You can see the trim wheel going automatically. We're going to give it a little bit more though. Then go 0. Does the same thing. Never quite enough, but close to. Then ever so slowly make our right hand turn, as well as bring our prop back nice and slow. That's what brings me to my first point, is flying like you're a limo driver. My mom, when I was learning how to drive a car, 16 years old, 15 actually, she would always say, man, remember to try to drive like a limo driver, where all your passengers don't feel your movements and they enjoy the ride. And that's something that I brought actually over into flying as well, is trying to make my flights as unmemorable as I possibly can. All my movements, very slow, methodical, especially when I have passengers. I'm not even doing barely a 15-degree bank at most, probably usually 10 degrees, keeping it very smooth, because not everybody loves flying. Like, if you're watching this, you probably do, but a lot of people don't. Medang Tower, November Tango Echo, departure time 50. We'll be tracking initially for the Bennett Gap on climb 12000. Goroka 17.
Roger, 25 miles per hour, contact miles VH 120.1, HF 6598.
120.16598 at 25, November Tango Echo. I just came in here not too long ago, and we just looked at the weather, and there's a dark spot up there. That's where all that really crummy weather is. Right in this area here. So I'm going to actually track a little bit more out this way till I can get in the Green Valley, and then head back over to the southeast to the left. Try to miss a lot of the worst kind of weather. I'll bring open my map so that you can see what we're doing. That's the plan, but like I said, we are going to be coming kind of more over that way to get around all of the weather that has built up in this area right here. Setting this up right here kind of brings me to my second point, which is staying ahead of the aircraft at all times. I know that's so like simple and easy to say and stuff like that, but the way I do it is I brief everything out loud. Yes, I do even talk to myself, or at least I used to talk to myself as I was flying, when I'm flying by myself, to solidify what it is that I'm planning on doing in my brain by saying it out loud. Well, even before that, what I used to do is I used to do armchair flying. What I mean by that is do the whole flight in your head before you even go fly. When we first moved here and mountain runways were brand new to me, it was extremely stressful. And before that morning, I just sit on my couch and I would kind of just envision what it would feel like flying the approach in, getting the numbers perfect. This is what I would do. This is what would happen if the winds came here. This is what I would do, and this is what the perfect landing would feel like, and all that. It kind of sounds corny, but at the same time, it does help. Professional sports players, they do the exact same thing. They envision what they're going to do before they do it. And it does help in flying as well. So if you're learning how to fly, I really feel like that's a great way to kind of prep your brain before you go out and actually do it. The reason why I feel like it's so important to stay ahead of the aircraft is because that's when all your mistakes start happening and they start snowballing quicker and quicker, because if you don't have a plan of action, I have a plan A, B, and usually C, at least an A and B at all times. I'm going this way. If it doesn't work in here, I'm planning to head on down here closer to Ayura because one of our other airplanes just went in that way. And worst case scenario, I can always come back down here Madang because it's pretty nice weather and I have enough fuel to do so. Well, we're heading up to 12,000. This dotted ring right here, that is my 25 miles. So once I get there, I'm going to be switching this radio frequency to more of like a flight following frequency. Okay, I'm looking here. So you see all this brown area, that's where all the mountains are, and that's where all the clouds build first. All the green areas are lower terrain, and the weather's typically better over top of those, less convective because the winds aren't hitting those mountains and just shooting straight up. So it's usually a little bit smoother air, it's usually a little bit smoother going through the clouds over here, and it adds maybe 2 minutes to the flight. At the same time, it keeps your stress levels low, and even though it might only be one little, segment of a flight that you guys see with me, this is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th flight today. So if I can keep my stress levels down and not have to overthink a lot of these things, overall, the week, the month, the year, it keeps my energy levels much higher and not worn out as much. Alright, now that we're going to be going IMC, to verify a couple things. If it does start raining, we'll go into bypass. If it does start raining, we'll go igniters turned on, and we'll also do a pitot heats on. We can look down here, we're 11 degrees Celsius, so I don't really need my pitot heats right now. Climb that at a nice safe rate, 113 knots, almost like a nice smooth, cruise climb. So everything's good on there. The reason why I look at that is just because if we do go through clouds, it does throw you around a little bit, usually, and your airspeed drops off 10 knots or so and kind of bounces around. Starting to sprinkle, we'll just go bypass for now. We'll just throw these on in case it gets a little bit more. There we go. Once it starts beating off the windshield is usually when I start turning all that stuff on. Checking here for any lightning strikes. If we go on our thing, we can go here to storm scope, which is already turned on. That will show us if there's any lightning strikes in the area, but there's none. Ooh, there we go. I went from 113 to briefly, I think 128. What you can do is also turn a little bit more to the right. This out more to the lowering terrain, and we'll probably get out of it a little bit sooner. I'll also put my seatbelt lock on. There we go, almost 12,000, so our autopilot to start trying to level us off here as we're zooming by at 1,500 feet per minute. Our autopilot off and manually fly it for now. There we go, getting out of the rain a little bit now, so I'm thinking we're going to pop out a little bit sooner. A little bit high now, 200 feet. Alright, we're starting to break out just a tiny bit. I had to head out this way about another 5 or so miles to try to get out of the worst part of it. But it was just a lot rougher than I was kind of hoping and anticipating. Warsby 1201, November Tango Echo, transfer.
November Tango Echo, Morsi.
November Tango Echo, 25 miles to the southwest of Madang, 12000, requesting a block of 12000 to 14000 due weather.
November Tango Echo, Roger, block for 12000, 14000, no reported traffic.
November Tango Echo.
November Tango Echo, maintain frequency at 15 miles, contact Goroka Tower 118.7.
Wilco, November Tango Echo. You guys can see here, yeah, I had to make a little bit of a right-hand turn to try to get out of the worst part. We're going to come up here to this green area, which is the lowest terrain, so I think that's going to be my best option for getting through. Fortunately, this airplane does not have a weather radar, but sometimes we do have service in the airplane. So, let me just take a quick look here, if it's going to let me load it.
Number Tango Echo Goroka QNH 1021.
1021, November Tango Echo. Yeah, it just shows a bunch of red, if you guys can see all that. A bunch of red, basically kind of all in this area. That doesn't really help me out much. But now we're starting to see a little bit kind of what I was hoping for out here. Kind of really need to go out that way. But we're going to take what we get and head out around as far as we can, and hopefully we'll get around a lot of this stormy area. Really is crazy how quickly the weather changes here in New Guinea. When I came through, I could see all the way down through here. No issues whatsoever about an hour ago. Oh, let's head up right over top of this green area. I am empty today, so my VA is going to be probably 120-ish, so I got to keep my speeds down pretty good today. Okay, I'm seeing down underneath of me now, just a little bit. There we go. I'm seeing down the valley now, which is a really good sign that it's going to be a little bit better weather now. So let's continue on down there. Bring our torque back up. The reason why I don't just head across the mountains right through here is because I did say that that was kind of the worst stormy area. And on my... Oh, look at that. We just popped out for a second. So let's just do a quick evaluation of what I'm seeing. Although, you know what, it does look the worst, but it looks worse down there, so I guess pick the lesser of two evils. Let's actually head toward the North Gaps. I wasn't planning on that, but let's go to the North of Sorrow, the Osaloka Gap. We'll go up to 14,000 because the majority of the worst weather is down there, at least from what I can tell right here. So let's head up that way first, and then kind of reevaluate as we're going, because we might find, as we get a little bit further on, like, let's see. Yeah, I think in the Osaloka, this ASG is probably going to be our best option from this perspective. So let's head towards there for now. If we get close and we're just like, man, this is just not looking good, we see any lightning strikes, things like that, then we'll take a left-hand turn and head down more towards the Bennett. But it looks quite a bit darker, quite a bit more rain, and just kind of scuzzy weather down there. We're straight ahead. It's kind of white puffy clouds, but they're not like heavy wall of rain down there. We will have to go up to 14,000 feet to be able to get over top of that. Let's put in Barambin on our flight plan.
Number Tango Echo Morsi, confirm your estimate, Goroka.
Stand by please, and we'll be tracking up to 20 miles right of track to weather.
Number Tango Echo Roger, 20 miles right of track, 12,000, block 14,000, all reported traffic. Yeah, just your estimate, Goroka.
Estimating Goroka 30, over Tango Echo.
Number Tango Echo.
Okay, change my flight plan. Reflect more what I kind of need. So from Barambin, which you don't necessarily have to direct go there, but we want to be at least 14,000 feet from that point on, which now I'm getting into the icing because I'm already at 12,000, I'm at 6 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to be getting into my icing levels. Doesn't mean that there will be icing, but just potential icing. I'm going to remain at 12,000 and try to work my way in as far as I can and see what it's looking like. I might be able to stay at 12,000, might find a hole that I can get through, because that mountain range is right around 9,000 feet. This brings me to my third point, which is actually pretty applicable to what we're doing today, and that is to slow down. Like, give yourself time to think. If you need to do an extra 360, if you need to slow the airplane down, you need to put some flaps in as you're approaching weather, as you're approaching the circuit, anything else, like, really slow down and give yourself that extra time, because if you're in a rush, that's when you start making mistakes over and over and over, and quicker and quicker and quicker. And they start out small mistakes and come to be big mistakes. Number 3 is just really slow yourself down, And it allows your brain to free up to make those bigger, more important decisions. You're not in this like fight or flight mode where you're just making quick decisions, go, 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 but that's when you make the mistakes. So if you need to slow down, make an extra turnaround, then do it. I am not seeing anything, so we're gonna go ahead and climb. Seeing down that way really nicely, but that's more towards Ramen in the Bennett Gap area. I'm heading here. Let's head over there because I know the way these mountains work. I can't really see it. There's a horseshoe right here, and the weather builds out further out. If I go to Brahman and then go across, that's going to give me the least amount of exposure in the bad weather. Right, I'm setting up my comms for Goroka, so I have that all ready to go. Those selectors are good. Our terrain awareness system is turned on for the time being. Landing performance is going to be 62 knots. Lock my seatbelt again, and then head through here in just about 2 more minutes. Although it's looking really nice. Let me just quickly see if I have my data right now, because I can look to see what it's looking like over the Bennett Gap, maybe. This is my weather radar. No, don't have enough data. Our oxygen on. But we're up here at 14,000. That will also help you make better decisions. There we go. Okay, we're coming up to Brahman. And like I said, it's a horseshoe area, so once I get here, I can take a right here, or I can continue on. You guys can see ahead of us. It is looking a little bit brighter. What I might do is just kind of peek around this next corner. If it's like, wow, that's looking really nice, I'll continue on that way. If not, then we'll take our shortest route. I'm looking to see, I do see a little light spot. I do see kind of sort of a channel going through there. 1 degree Celsius. How far is that? That's 10 miles basically. Then we can start our descent after that. I am seeing a little bit of a channel, so we're going to go for that. We're up to 14,000 though. Let's bring our ITT back to 700. And we are going to be going through some weather up here, so I'm also just going to slow on down because my maneuvering speed is a little bit lower today because I am completely empty. Alright, speeds are good. Everything's ready to go through some rain. It's raining good, so I'm not getting any icing at all. Doesn't even look like it's wanting to try. Once I get past the Asaro or Osaloka Gap, I'll start my descent. Go down
Alpha Number Echo,
10,000 feet.
QNH 1021, temperature 23.
1021 Alpha November Echo.
Croker Tower, November Tango Echo. Again, this is just working ahead so that I don't have to do this in a minute.
November Tango Echo, Croker Tower.
Afternoon, November Tango Echo, 14,000, passing the Osaloka Gap this time, requesting appreciation of the weather of the valley, please.
November Tango Echo, 14,000, runway 35 right, wind northeasterly 3 to 7 knots, QNH 1020, temperature 19. It looks fairly cloudy to the northwest, north and east of Goroka. Otherwise, looking to the south and southeast of Goroka, no blue sky, but much better in that sector, and you should be able to easily let down break visual in that sector. All further field and reporting in overhead.
1020, copy all, reporting in overhead, November Tango Echo. This is the gap right now below me.
Right near distance again from Goroka.
11 miles through the Osaloka Gap this time, starting descent. November Tango Echo.
November Tango Echo.
I'm also starting to see a lot of kind of scattered and a little bit, I mean, it's still crummy weather, but it's still looking a little bit better out there. I'm going to head off to the right because I forgot. Right, you get to the Oslo, if you take a little bit of a right, it kind of just clears up really quick. Yeah, I've got like 20 miles visibility, so I'm going to start my descent on fairly quick now. Still raining pretty good, but that's okay. Let's bring our power way back, prop forward. While we're kind of in the descent, let's go over number 4. What I feel like makes you a really great pilot is flying the numbers. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh man, I just fly by the seat of my pants, and man, that makes the pilot so much better if they fly by the seat of the pants and like they're just a natural stick and rudder, you know, kind of person. There's not as much consistency with that. And what I have found personally, flying into mountain airstrips and just kind of going off of feel every time, especially when you're beginning, don't get as consistent results. So what I did is I would remember every single now. I want to turn it exactly 3,650 feet right here, and it'll give me the perfect descent into Yivki. I want to be exactly dead on, you know, on my base. Let's say I need to be 80 knots on my base and 70 knots on my final. I want to be 75 knots as I'm initiating my turn. As I go full flaps, I don't have to adjust anything on my power. And by the time I roll out, I'll be right at 70. When you start seeing flying by the numbers, especially with instrument flying, your life will be 1,000 times easier, and you'll be way more consistent. And after you've done flying by the numbers for years and years, you don't necessarily even have to think about it. It comes more naturally to you because you know the numbers so much. When I'm flying an approach, I shot one into Madang today. I knew that I had to be 400 foot-pounds of torque on my descent to get 110 knots because it's by the numbers. So that's number 4. It will free your brain up, kind of like slowing down. It will free your brain up to allow you to make those bigger, more important decisions. November Tango Echo is more or less overhead at this time, 10,000, and we'll be descending to the north of the field. Requesting to join in on a left downwind for 35 right.
November Tango Echo, no report traffic. Call again, establish left downwind.
Call again, left downwind. November Tango Echo. While we're in the descent, number 5, this is the one that's controversial, but this is also the one I feel like has changed how I fly and has made my life easier. So number 5 that I feel like makes you a really great pilot is I fly my approaches differently than what I was taught. I was taught pitch for airspeed, power for altitude, every single time, okay? But in all cruise situations, you use power for your airspeed. In fact, when I first started this channel, I actually flew pitch for airspeed, power for altitude on all of my approaches, regardless of what they were. In the Kodiak, especially specifically to our numbers that we fly, we don't fly behind the curve. If you're not familiar with what that is, go Google it. We're not flying slow flight, basically, on our approach. So you don't need to use that. Now, if I was flying slow flight, then yes, I would be pitching for airspeed, power for altitude. But we are not flying behind the curve, so I actually, on one of you guys, one of the viewers were like, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, whatever, I'll give them a month, I'll try it. It was very awkward and difficult to change how I had been flying for so many years. Fly all my approaches with power as management for my airspeed, okay? And I would encourage you guys too. Now, if you're flying a very, very slow approach, to be considered slow flight, then it is different. But the Kodiak specific and also bigger airplanes, you do not fly behind the curve. So if I'm at 110 knots, which I am right now, if I want to slow down on my approach, I pull my power first, okay? And the nose wants to drop, so you can pull it back. Now, you can do the opposite, pull back and then pull power. It does the same thing. Pulling the power first, as you're coming in on short approach kind of stuff, when you're coming into a mountain airstrip and you have in your mentality, I need to pull before I pull my power, you know, pitching for airspeed and then pulling the power because I'm going to go up and I want to counteract that. When you're short final and you're on a critical airstrip that you can't just go around, like you have to land and you have to hit your spot where you want to, flying with airspeed control with your power lever, if I'm 3 knots fast, I don't care. I'm just leaving the same pitch. I just pull a tiny bit of power. That slows me down. I don't adjust my pitch at all. Everything remains the same. So all I'm doing is one thing. I'm pulling power, slows me down. As opposed to, if I was pitching from airspeed, I'd be pitching, then I'd be using my power. It'd be a lot more things going on. You get the same results. You do, because I know, because I flew like that for like 6 years here in New Guinea. You can get the same results, but it takes more work. That's number 5 to make you a great pilot. November Tango Echo joining left downwind, 35 right.
November Tango Echo, runway 35 right, clear to land.
Clear to land, 35 right, November Tango Echo. Oh, that was a busy flight for me. This video thumbs up if you like those 5 tips and habits on making you a better pilot. Getting to see how you have to work weather. That's what we call it, working weather here in New Guinea. Let's rebeam the numbers, 20 degrees. Again, going off of just consistent flying. Exact same spots, I do everything exactly the same. RB 5800 turning base, 5600 turning final at 1.8 nautical miles, and I know it works out great every time. We wanted 62 on our final, but today we're light. That's a long runway. I want to bump it all up to 70 knots. We'll float a little bit longer, but that's okay. At this little house right here, I actually might be even a church building, is where we turn. I am a little bit high now, 160 feet high. What that usually means is put your flaps in sooner. There's 5600 on the dot, turning final. 20 knots, we're going to bump the power in just a tiny bit to keep our airspeed up. Right at 70 so it doesn't drop in the turn, and then as we're rolling
500.
As I'm rolling out, I'm going to pull the power right back out just a little bit. So I'm at 70 knots right now, bumping up between 69 and 70. So if I just add a hair's breadth of power, it will hold me at 70, as opposed to dropping the nose, then pulling power and all these other things. So it's going to make your life easier. It's going to take a month to do it. Believe me, it will take a little bit, but it will be easier in the long run. If I'm 71, 72, I'm just making small adjustments to just the power. My pitch is going to the exact same spot. My eyes aren't moving off that spot. Bit of an updraft. We'll pull a little bit of power because we have to pitch, get down to get back to our pitch where we're actually wanting to go. We are going 8 knots fast for our VREF, so I'm going to pull my power starting now so that I can touch down closer to where I actually wanted to. The flight was a lot of work. Might not look like it, but that was a lot of work. Oh, give this video a thumbs up for me, because that was a lot of work for me even. You can see my desired track and my actual track. It was a lot of work. Comment below if you agree or disagree with my chosen 5 habits to make the best pilots. If you have one, leave it down below. I might not have thought of it. All right, see you guys next time.